Take a quick moment to thank one of our school podcast sponsors, Access Education. The guys at Access Education are on a mission to give every school the freedom to put education first. And they do this by bringing all your software needs into one place. Whether it is financial management, HR, payroll, parent communication, or classroom content and assessments, they have you covered. They work with over 9,000 maintained schools, academies, MATs, and independent schools across the UK. On another note, I've personally worked with Access Education for a number of years. The team, the work they're doing is unbelievable. So hit all the links in the bio, check them out, and yeah, let's get back to this podcast. Does that kind of make sense?
It does. And then, but so by that question, Cam, what you're asking the person to do is to look at yourself. And that's hard, to point your fingers. What I love, that's, when you're saying about the fact that people don't often share the moments when things have gone wrong, or I love that kind of stuff. And it's not because again it goes back to what I said about the fact that I retook my A-levels. That for me was I suppose a turning point and a blessing in disguise, because it made me understand and value when people were successful in spite of challenges. And I thought, well,
definitely.
you could, those learning points and things like that. So I love it when you have educators, or anyone basically, but generally educators, who they share the highs and the lows. I'll give it, for example, one time I was in a role where it was really hard. My first term of working in that role was really, really challenging for a wide variety of reasons. And so I like to process things by writing. So I wrote a particular blog about this, and I thought, right, well, I'm part of Women Ed, so I should be 10% braver. So don't just have it written and not posted. Share it as a blog. And I was really worried about doing that because it wasn't a highlight. I'd gone into a particular role. It was like, looked up there and what have you. It was a really good role and what have you. But I was struggling on all fronts. Work-life balance out the window, struggling to do the role properly. Every aspect was not going well. And so, when I posted it, the responses I got were unbelievable. I think it's probably one of my most popular blogs to date.
Until this one comes out. Oh, yes.
But I think people need to see the reality, both good and bad. Life is not all bad, life is not all good, but the good and bad. And I think what I try and do with what I do is support others in a variety of ways, but also being real about how I've managed to get to where I am and what I'm doing, because it put me off going into senior leadership. I remember having a conversation with one of our managers who said, you should be a senior leader. And I was like, no. Again, doubt, imposter syndrome. But because I naively thought we had to be really good at everything every single day in order to be able to do this particular role. And I found out, no, that's not really the case. When some other senior leaders shared, we have bad days and this is what we do to, mitigate against it, et cetera, et cetera.
So what does 10% braver mean to you?
Right. Taking one step out of your comfort zone.
What is a comfort zone?
Comfort zone is automatically doing things without even having to think about it. Ease. It's just ease, no challenges, just the same old, same old.
So what's the benefit of stepping out?
You learn new things.
Why should you be 10% braver?
You learn new things about yourself. You learn new things about a situation. You develop different skills. You can see things from a different perspective. You are being challenged. There's what was it? One of the quotes I love is, "A comfort zone is a wonderful place, but nothing great ever grows there." And I think it is. It's That's when amazing. You step out. You're being alive. It's like, okay, so 2020, for all the different things that actually happened. One thing I think is a positive. It's a fact. It's forced everyone to step out of your comfort zone, because the norm, however the norm was, doesn't exist. So you have to do things differently. So it means you've got to learn and think and operate differently. And I think that's great, because it's like not carving out a groove, but just finding new ways of doing things.
And one thing I admire about you is that you're doing it, you're living it.
tried to.
No, but does that make sense? Even prior to this, when we had the conversation,
Yeah.
I'm nervous, and I was like, it would be absolutely fine. You're like, send me the questions, and I don't have any questions. Like we just literally go with the flow, and I honestly do not plan anything. I check out your stuff beforehand, and where we go, but it has to be natural, because if that's what I want this to be, I want it to be unique, I want it to be special. And I said, it's just going to be, informal, unprofessional podcast.
Informal did not, right? Can I just say, informal does not mean unprofessional. Informal is good because it's comfortable. She's still trying to, late comeback.
But does that make sense? And I just admire the work you do, because I just feel like it doesn't matter what you do, you're being yourself.
I try to be, yeah.
And even just from setting everything up, it's just that pure openness and honesty, and that goes so much further than trying to be something we're not, or by trying to live a certain life we're not, or trying to pretend we know something what we don't really know.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? And I even think that's the idea of a coach. People think coaches, you got to tell people to do, and it's like, actually being a good coach is about asking world-class questions.
Absolutely. Amen.
And this is what I talk about with the parents and stuff, and because I've done loads of parents webinars throughout the whole lockdown situation. So it's all on the questions.
Yes.
We're too busy asking yes or no questions. Actually, it needs to be more open. What's a world-class question? Okay, what do you think will happen if you don't do this work? What will happen when you go back to in September and you're falling behind and all your friends have done work even though they pretend they haven't done it? How would that make you feel?
Exactly.
Does that make sense? It's all about those questions, and you want to give them you want them to think, oh, I created it.
It's the thinking. My favorite question is the Cartesian question, because you look at a situation from different perspectives. Like, what would happen if it? I can't remember the different. Like, what would happen if you did do this? What wouldn't happen if you didn't? All those, what wouldn't happen if you didn't do this particular thing? I'm not phrasing it properly, but with the Cartesian question, you've got 4 different questions, and you look at a situation from a different way. Thinking, I think, is great. Thinking is good. Thinking hard is even better, I think. And one of the things I do in my coaching sessions...
What's the difference?
Deep thinking means that you're not, like, for example, you just said like a yes or no question. Is this an easy interview?
It's easy.
Yeah. What has made this interview challenging is a different type of question. It's a deeper type of question. And one of the things I like to do, I like it when people make me think hard. And I love it during my coaching sessions, not intentionally, but to make people think. Because the whole point is the fact that you need to feel as though you've had a mental workout. And if it's just like an easy conversation, that's not really coaching. That's just a lovely conversation or discussion. So that's how I distinguish between the two.
Did the coaching course, the level 5, did it talk much about the questions?
Absolutely. So you've got...
So I'm genuinely thinking of doing it within the next 6 months or so.
I seriously, I will happily share, because you look at the questions, you look at people's, I suppose, not learning styles. You look at how people operate. So, for example, you may have people who are amiable. You may have people who are analytical. Different types of people and how you approach them and things like that. What helps, bringing in, say, for example, with where I work at a special school, what helps is the fact that, as you say, if you take a human being or a person, we process the world in a particular way. And as a result of that, we respond in a particular way. And you can add that to coaching. So
it's perspective as well.
Yeah. So that I see a connectivity between all the different aspects of what I do, that enables me to just try and do the best I possibly can.
Let's talk about, quickly, expectations. You talked about, obviously, your parents, Nigerian parents, you're the firstborn. How important is expectations, not just for our students, but also for ourselves? Is it important or is it not? I don't know.
Oh goodness!
Great question again, Cameron.
It is. That's a deep question.
Your opinion. Try, just break it down. Simplify it if you have to.
Yeah, no.
Because there's a lot of like research.
The question I would ask is, what do you mean by expectations?
Oh, that's a deep question. I'm interviewing you.
No, I'm just trying to understand what you meant by that.
I guess the expectations for ourselves different to expectations we have for the teenagers or the kids we teach, right? Are they?
Should they be? I don't know.
Because I would say, let me just talk about my expectations I put on myself. Very, very high. And because of how high they are, I'm quite often disappointed or too hard on myself. Which I wouldn't say is a good thing. But they're there. I can't pretend they're not there. You know, and I don't really compare myself to other people because that's not something I do, because I know the deep work what has. I don't care about Bill or Bob or whoever, because the bottom line is I know I got my own internal issues. I got my own challenges. I can't focus on those people because I'm not perfect, right?
Yeah.
But also, with that said, and once again, me and Dave on our long journey was talking about it. It's actually, maybe I'm not that much of a bad person. Maybe, you know, I am a bit too harsh on myself.
Yeah.
What would you say to that? Or
right, now I understand. What you said is what we all go through.
I don't.
No, what you said is what we all go through. And I think we have, you know, there's a lovely, I remember having a conversation with someone about the fact that how we judge people. So for example, if I were to judge you, just so you know, like you're another person, I can only go by what you do. I don't know what's in your mind. If I were to judge myself, I know what I was thinking behind what I was going to be doing. Okay. So it's a different context. And I think that's why sometimes we judge ourselves, you know, I wanted to do this, but I didn't do it. Disappointment. One of my coaches, I was on a course with her last month about courageous leadership and things like that. And one of the aspects that she gave, one of the tasks and exercise she gave us was, for 1 month, do not say anything negative about yourself. I was like, what? And
externally or internally?
Internally. No, it doesn't matter. Both. But it's interesting you saying that about is external,
because can you stop it?
My internal narrative was negative towards myself. I didn't do that. Oh my goodness, you know, like you didn't, you know, like these are things you wanted to plan to do before lockdown, but you didn't do them. Okay, these are things you said you were going to try and do during lockdown, but you didn't do it. You know, you shouldn't have been thrown off course by the fact that you should be mentally stronger. Or it was on and on and on, and I didn't know that and realize that until Diana Osagi actually gave that challenge, and I just thought, oh my goodness, it was like a light bulb moment, because externally everything I do is about optimism, positivity. But that was for other people.
There you go.
It wasn't necessarily about what was going on within myself.
Wow.
So that was a timely and enlightening exercise, because I think that, you know, we've got expectations. I always have high expectations. My mind is always active about, want to do this, want to do that, want to do this, want to do that.
Yeah.
And I've had to try and be easier on myself because of different circumstances and things like that, but also because of the fact that it then means I'm less negative on myself. Yeah.
Do you take positive feedback well?
I've learned to. And you can see by my reaction, I've learned to. Hence why when people say, oh, but you did, and I'm like, okay, it's what I do.
Why do we always focus on the negative over the positive? Because before the cameras were on, obviously I talked a little bit about Twitter, and sometimes there's this huge, like, a lot of negativity on there where I look on it, I don't even want to be a part of it, you know? Yeah. But there's like two sides. There's like the lovely side, which is like you, even like Hannah Wilson, like Andy Buck.
Yes.
And then there's another side where I'm like, I don't even know if I want to get, I don't know. Does that make sense? But why do we focus on the negative somewhat more than the positive? Why do we...
You can hack away at it, can't you? Until the cows come home. But I think part of it is negativity is not necessarily a bad thing. For example, you know, no one could be 100% positive. For example, you know, someone may have done something and there are things that they need to change or action, and you have to point it out. Yeah. That is not... I don't see that as a bad thing, because it is I'm not doing it with malice or to put them down. I want you to do, I know what you can do. I want you to do an even better job. I know you can do an even better job. That's if I were to give criticisms or, you know, like constructive criticisms, that's the aim behind it. But I can't speak for the mind of other people who don't do things in that regard. Sometimes I just think that people love. Someone said? Was it Action Jackson said? Misery loves company, and I think that is there something negative going on? People just love to pick it and hack at it.
Yeah, it does,
because it detracts maybe away from themselves. Who knows? You know, that's just.
And I guess it's our perception again, good deep of what we perceive as negative. Just because that person said something which we think is negative does it mean...
Doesn't mean to say that... It doesn't
it's negative.
mean,
because when they
exactly.
say it, does it make them feel negative? Probably not. It makes them feel good. So it's me who is perceiving it a certain way, and it's me who's getting triggered because of it, right?
True. And also what you see in writing as well, I think this is one of the downsides about, say, social media. When you read something, you know, the intonation and the meaning and the body language is lacking. So you can only go by the words, you know? So if it triggers something in your mind thinking, which was not intended, that's, I think, one of the downsides about it. But
My name is Sean Lord, and I help deliver the Girls Growth Programme, a programme that helps deliver impact for teenage girls, ensuring that they're happier and healthier on their school journey, with a big focus on relationships, friendships, body image, self-esteem, mental health and mindset.
I'm Natalie. I'm one of the leaders for our Girls Growth Programme, where we discuss important issues such as self-esteem, diet, exercise and confidence.
Think of 3 unhealthy habits that you have for yourself at this moment in time. And when you don't get enough sleep, it's harder to regulate your emotions and small problems can seem much bigger than they are. Exercise isn't just about looking good or staying fit, it's vital for your mental health.
So get in touch today to get the support that your girls need now.